and on, just to condition you to have troops on the streets. Secret police everywhere, the federalization of police, exchange programs with foreign countries, NLE 09 with FEMA and troops from 14 nations, training FEMA admitted to take on the American people. You know, they admittedly have built all these FEMA camps, and then Glenn Beck gets up and says they don't exist. You're being acclimated. And everything they've been building in the police state architecture since the establishment killed Kennedy, and he wasn't perfect, but he wasn't going along with it. They've been slowly building and federalizing and slowly setting it up where if you think executive orders outside of Congress and the courts making unconstitutional regulatory laws where the regulatory agencies do what the president says and the law be damned, if you think all of that is bad, what about the signing statements that Clinton started, Bush started expanding it, now Obama, who swore he wouldn't do it? We've all seen those video clips. In fact, do you have the signing statement clip, guys, I asked you to get? Remember that? Remember how he promised that they would never use signing statements of any type because it's unconstitutional, because it's a federal power grab? If you guys are looking for it again, it's in the article. You have it? Let's go ahead and play this short clip before I get into this. Here it is.
When Congress offers you a bill, do you promise not to use presidential signage to get your way?
Yes. Let me just explain for those who are unfamiliar with this issue. We've got a government designed by the founders so that there'd be checks and balances. You don't want a president who's too powerful, or a Congress who's too powerful, or a courts who's too powerful. Everybody's got their own role. Congress's job is to pass legislation. The president can veto it or he can sign it. But what George Bush has been trying to do as part of his effort to accumulate more power in the presidency is he's been saying, well, I can basically change what Congress passed by attaching a letter saying, I don't agree with this part or I don't agree with that part. I'm going to choose to interpret it this way or that way. That's not part of his power. But this is part of the whole theory of George Bush, that he can make laws as he's going along. I disagree with that. I taught the Constitution for 10 years. I believe in the Constitution, and I will obey the Constitution of the United States. We're not going to use signing statements as a way of doing an end run around Congress. All right?
All right? Everything he says is a lie. Just like everything Glenn Beck says is a lie. He says a couple of communists imploded the banking structure when he supported the banker takeover. Same thing with Obama. Most of the people in the Bush administration stayed over into Obama's administration. And that's what I tried to explain in the Obama Deception Fall of the Republic. That's why those films are more important today than when I made them last year. Because you can set a Republican down or a Democrat down in front of those films, and then there won't be any more confusion. They'll understand the bigger ball game instead of being conned. Now, Obama says he doesn't care if the Congress doesn't pass a greenhouse gas tax that will completely shut down what's left of our industry, double the amount that electricity costs. He even admits that in a video clip. Double your electricity bill. That's not me just saying that. That's on record. That he wants to, quote, bankrupt them. And China and India and Mexico and 100+ other countries, it's 160 total, 165 total, they don't have to make any cuts. So even if you believe carbon dioxide is so deadly and we're burning up and everybody's going to die, how does China and India and Mexico, who will put out even dirtier emissions, how does that save the earth when the total numbers of the devilish carbon dioxide goes up? I mean, this is common sense. But again, he says gun control. He announced that last month. They're going to go through the UN with treaties. And even if Congress won't ratify it, the Senate won't ratify it, he's going to do it. Open borders through SPP. He's saying he's going to go for open borders on that. the executive branch is already issuing hemispheric North American Union ID cards for a year. In fact, people won't believe that. Go to YouTube and type in, it's TV ads. Most of you have seen it. What was the exact name of it? North American ID commercial. It's like a 60-second ad. America, the beautiful, the wondrous. Now you can travel from Mexico to Canada and the U.S. with this card. They're just doing it. North American Hemisphere IDs. And it goes on and on and on. The federalization of police, shutting down a gun show in Austin, now other gun shows around the country. No law, the BATF just shows up and says that's the way it is. You got the Austin police chief constantly meeting with the ADL. Some bizarre libertarian blog attacks me and talks about how they go to the ADL meetings. No wonder when I showed up at that protest and they were running it, they freaked out and caused that whole thing and ran up and said, "You're not welcome here," when it was all my audience, people in my T-shirts showing up. And I was like, well, I'm going to bullhorn the media here. Now I find out they're writing articles about how great the ADL is and how they meet with them and how I'm bad. I mean, it's just, you can't believe this stuff. They're just everywhere. Obama making plans to use executive power. With much of his legislative agenda stalled in Congress, President Obama and his team are preparing an array of actions used to his executive power to advance energy, environmental, fiscal, and other domestic policy priorities. That's the New York Times. And it says we will use executive orders and signing statements. He's already doing it. We are reviewing a list of presidential executive orders and directives to get the job done across a front of issues, said Rahm Emanuel, who isn't even American, to the White House Chief of Staff. I mean, he is an admitted member of the IDF. Not even an Israel firster. He's an Israeli. And that's wrong. It's like Schwarzenegger's wrong for governor. Any president has vast authority to influence policy without legislation through executive orders, agency rulemaking, and administration fiat. That's why they have Cass Sunstein in there as the head of this, the guy that says there should be no free speech and no internet free speech, and now you hear it being announced by the media. And they tell you, oh, the president's allowed to do this. No, he's not. You just heard the president say it's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal. And here's the key articles by Kurt Nimmo. Obama declares he will rule by authoritarian decree. Infowars.com. This is important. Get it out to everybody. Kurt Nimmo. The Obama administration has announced it will now rule by fascist decree and ignore Congress and the American people. And it goes on to say the fact that Obama's plan to rule by authoritarian decree is unconstitutional. Article 1, Section 1 of the U.S. Constitution states, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in Congress of the United States, which shall consist of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Article 2, Section 3 states that the president may call Congress into emergency session during a national crisis. In other words, rule by fiat is treason. Another section of the Constitution covers treason. Article 2, Section 4 states the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office of impeachment for and convicted of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. Rahm Emanuel should be arrested and prosecuted for treason under federal statutes, specifically Title 18 U.S.C. 2. It states whoever commits an offense against the United States or aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or procures its commission is punishable as a principal. Treason is spelled out in Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution. Quote, the Congress shall have power to declare the punishment of treason, it states. Right there. Another great article. Obama breaks yet another campaign promise. Paul Joseph Watson. In the face of rapidly growing populist anger, the Obama administration has signaled that it will fall back on a form of power well known to all successful dictators, rule by decree, and that Obama will use the very instrument he campaigned against to ram through the New World Order agenda, executive orders, and lots of them. This is the definition of tyrannus. And this isn't like executive orders. Congress would give the president his pay and his funding for the executive office of the president in the White House. And it was the first executive orders were like Martha Washington, what type of plates and silverware she was going to buy. And complaining she couldn't get more than a couple $100 to entertain dignitaries. Now it's, oh, I signed an executive order, there's all these taxes, and we're going to shut down the power plants. Oh, I signed an executive order, we're federalizing your police. I'm signing an executive order, we're going to spy on you without warrants. I'm signing an executive order, we're going to issue a hemispheric travel ID card that's good in Mexico and Canada, and both countries are part of it.